This winter, 2 years out from the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan, US forces are engaged in a ferocious battle with the Taliban for control of its mountainous border regions. People and Power has been to the front line in strategically vital Kunar province, where the success or failure of NATO's Afghan war may be decided.
In the northeast of Afghanistan, set high in the Hindu Kush mountains, the provinces of Nuristan and Kunar lie up against the border with Pakistan. Since US troops arrived in Afghanistan 10 years ago, this area has seen sustained and intense violence. In 2009, with casualties rising, US forces withdrew entirely from Nuristan. The following year, northern Kunar was also handed over to Afghan control. But within a few months, the Taliban had retaken the area. Now, the Americans are back. The US Army's 227 Infantry Regiment has come to reinforce an Afghan outpost, known as OP Mace. The Taliban here are so confident they are even prepared to shoot at helicopters, despite the overwhelming response it brings.
Copy that. You have the right to self-defense. Engage.
OP Mace sits on a peak over 6,000 feet high. According to the Afghans, it is in Nuristan, but US troops insist it is in Kunar. Borders in this part of the world are loose arrangements, it seems.
Where we are now, located in close proximity to the Pakistan border, just west up the valley here, you have Kamdesh, Wamagal, Kop Keating, and to kind of set the stage, where we are here in the Gowradesh Valley, Gowradesh being right over here to the north, we have a series of Afghan National Security Force checkpoints. The overarching theme of this mission is really getting the Afghan Border Police and the ANA to work together.
But this won't be easy. Just a few months ago, while Afghan soldiers sat atop this mountain on their own, a nearby police checkpoint was attacked and overrun. 23 Afghan border police were killed in this attack. The Taliban filmed their bodies and distributed the footage to the local people. In song, they praise their warriors and mock their enemies, promising them the same fate as the Russians who were once here.
What's the overall view of the Taliban in the eyes of most Afghanis?
Afghan people call them for like cruel people. That's everybody hate them, so.
نه دښمن ګوري نه دوست ګوري ورته ځان الزوي ټولې د خلک مخکې د طالبان ورته د ملایانو ډېر احترام هم کاوه خصوصا افغانستان خلک ورته ډېر احترام لري او چې دغه کارونه چې کوم کارونه وکړو ورته ټول ولس ورته نفرت کوي.
20 miles south of OP Mace, there is a very different kind of war being waged. Ghaziabad district was the scene of heavy fighting during the summer of 2011, but now Lieutenant Colonel Dan Wilson is hoping to win the population over. He is trying to convince the villagers that they are better off supporting the Afghan government rather than the Taliban, and to do that, he is working closely with the newly appointed district police chief.
نو مخکې 15 میاشتې مخکې د غازي آباد امنیتي وضع قابل تشویش وه چې دلته مخالفینو قوي حضور درلوده، هم په نظامي لحاظ، هم په فرهنګي لحاظ باندې، هم په اقتصادي لحاظ باندې. ولس د نظام نه جدا، ولس سره هم خبرې وکړې، ولس هم په نظام باوري او مطمئن که او دې تب و تلاش نتیجه هم ورکړې ده. پخوا چې ولسونه یو څه مشکلات لرل، یو څه مایوسي لرله، خفګان لرو، هغه موږ رفع کړی دی. ولس موږ اوس په ځان راټول کړی دی، د ادارې سره هماهنګ کړی دی چې هغه مشکلات چې په ټوپک حلیږي دا په خبرو باندې حل شي.
Wow, you guys always get so much food. I will never forget, and I've learned a lot about hospitality from my Afghan brothers. My philosophy on counterinsurgency operations is that the people are the center of gravity, and so if you don't understand what they want, and if you don't understand their culture and how their culture looks at things and does things, you're not going to be successful as a counterinsurgent.
Colonel Wilson appears to have adopted a new approach. He seems genuinely committed to building relationships, and he spends long hours drinking chai and listening to the local elders. He has also taken the time to learn a lot of the local Pashto language.
I think anywhere in Afghanistan, if you come in and don't set the conditions properly and you're not really invited and welcomed by the local population, you're doomed to be fighting a constant fight against the enemy. And that's, you know, a definition of an enemy. Is it a Taliban, hardcore Taliban fighter? Is it an Al-Qaeda fighter? Is he just a local tribesman that doesn't like the fact that you're in his country?
OP Mace is specifically positioned to try to stem the flow of fighters through the Goward-Esh Valley. But if the Americans are determined to deny the Taliban freedom of movement, then the Taliban are just as determined to make the US soldiers leave.
With Dude 05, we got reports that we have multiple insurgents coming up over our northern ridgeline break, armed with 40 rockets and machine guns, looking to attack US forces break.
Every day, Taliban fighters climb the surrounding ridgelines, sometimes shooting mortars, sometimes setting rockets on timers, sometimes just watching, waiting to see what the Americans will do. It keeps everyone on edge.
It's crappy to wonder where they're going to come from, knowing they're coming, and just not knowing where.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears have gone into making an operation in northern Kunar like this even possible. Just historical reference. Just right up northwest in this valley where the clouds and the snow-covered mountains are is where, you know, Cop Keating's right up there. A lot of hard lessons were learned at the expense of, you know, our coalition force brothers.
Hard lessons indeed. The overrun of Combat Outpost Keating in 2009, which left 8 Americans dead and 22 wounded, was the catalyst for the withdrawal of all US forces from Nuristan province. The overrun was blamed on the fact that the outpost was built on the valley floor, leaving the high ground to the Taliban. This time, the Americans are doing things very differently.
We're sitting up here on the high ground at OP Mace, not getting much enemy activity, just a few reconnaissance patrols, probing attacks, but we're able to mitigate all that with our helicopters. We've learned lessons over 10 years that are saving lives now. Unfortunately, they had to be learned the hard way. Hey, you know, you can accomplish a lot more without bullets at times, and sometimes those are the most rewarding victories. Getting guys to come in and reconcile by, you know, talking to the families, kind of tugging on those heartstrings that are a part, or, you know, that are deep-seated values in any culture, in any family structure.
With the Taliban preparing to open an office in Qatar, and the Americans desperate to find a way out of their long war, reconciliation has become the latest buzzword in Afghanistan. Everyone wants to talk to the Taliban. And at OP Mace at least, it seems the Taliban are happy to talk back.
Very good. Tu yivir wala naam ge latrichinda. Very good. Afghanistan kehta hai wo. 100% sur 300% kehta hai wo. Shos wajah to teti an Afghanistan. Amne beguno management ye kai sobzu.
Ya agar ye most wajah to teti na mandi. Shos wajah to teti mandi. Ay moni ki most se naam kacha wam mazlum kacha most to kana be se timbo most مقابل من جا مش کلام دشمنی میزی یا چه بعد بچه سواد مش جا ولی از شام جا مش وقتی نسایم شام جا مش فنیش بیتی مظلوم جا کیس کنر دایم افغانستان یه موسیقی تناز یک کس ظلم دو باید کندی شاطر اتنی مش جا میسن در رنگ سکاپور وامش پاکستان زن افغانستان دو با دایم یعنی مشکل وقتی نسایم.
The exchange has a surprisingly ritualized feel to it. Conversations over the radio like this take place here regularly, giving a real insight into Taliban thinking.
Sanjbo is pujbul solzo. Tu agat Afghanistan latri kapura geti mojot kumijunjna. Sabrshi in shakat gawardesh gana yure pazu shakat hamla bo akikat kapur zikat amerikaizi sho amgi sho Afghani manjon do sho hamla yes job gatso.
Yes job dem to shamgi kadai so kapure majwati na sai kapure संगर वन में से कपूरों समझा तो इष्ट है अन्य वनसन के तो कपूरों सुबह से मशवरा होते न से तमाम मुसलमानों पर के तो सुबह नागरिक जुल्म शुरू है और हम जो मश कहते मौत नरसनी जाओ गुनिजा गुजरजा के तो सुबह से हम जो मश होते न से हम के अर्जन सिमोरी ने कपूर इष्ट है मुर्तदा इष्ट के तमाम जो भी में
सांझ बोश विरिकोर्ट तू ये सुरा बोलती तू यस बोरा तो का कुदी मारता है का खिदमत करता तू को यस जॉब का सा
موسيرا كموس جوشنا صوممينا بيسلاد كنت تنظر صار دائما كم مسؤول حنومي يدا سني موس جوش كنت ايش وصلت ملومات في سني هنا بيسلاد كم خلالك ما مشكلة كم مملكات يا مسلمان ايش تبغى ما مجايون كنت خود مؤمن ايش تبغى ما مجاي
सांझ बसबर शो केत वेल्ट विग्रान नकाले केत वेल्ट विग्रान कोई भी जुरियन पर नशो नकाले
नकालो क़यामत पे वेद कुरान अल्लाह पाक की जो नकत जो हो तो क़यामत पे ये कब्ज़ बोल कलन आज़िन क़यामत पे.
There are many reports coming out of Afghanistan that suggest there is a major disconnect between the Taliban high command and the fighters on the ground. While it is likely that Abu Bakr, or whatever his real name is a low-level fighter rather than a commander, there is no mistaking the intractable mindset that he represents. Just as at OP Mace, getting the Taliban to talk and lay down their weapons is a major part of the US strategy in Ghaziabad.
دینه مخکې خو یو کس چې زموږ نږدې همکار دی او د پولیسو سره نږدې همکاري لري او د سی بی اس په پروګرام کې موږ سره شریک دی په نامه د ارسلا خان چې مخکې
زه خپل زړه مرضي مې وایم خپل زړه نه مې ته لکه طالبانو سره ملګری شوی وم او بیرته مې خپل زړه ومنله چې طالبان نه لاړ شي او د کلي طالبان مې و د وطن طالبان وي سره ملګری چې 19 کلن به وم همدغسې مې خپل ټوپک اخیستی او وستلی یم نه مې ټریلنګ ته تللی یم او نه مې ټریلنګ کلی یو شپږ نیم دقیقې 7 کاله مې ورسره شوي بس هغه وخت کې زما دې هېڅ فکر نه و چې دا لکه زموږ سره مرسته کولی شي یا نه شي کولی دې کې زما هېڅ سوچ نه و په هغه وخت کې خو لکه موږ دا سوچ کولو چې لکه دوی سره جنګ وکړو وایي د زما خو داسې وجه وه چې پولیس یې وشته ملي اردو یې وشته نور عوام خلک یې بازابول رابازول لارو کې شوکې موکې کول نو دې وجې نه ما ایسته سوچ وکړم دا کارونه غلط دي او ایسته رالم خپل حکومت نه زما په عامل خو لکه دلته چې زه ما حکومت سره جوړه وکړه نو طالبانو زما کور هم اوس څه کسان یې رانه نیولي وو هغه جزایان کړه پیسې مې سیتې واخیستې بیا یې بېرته راپرېښودو زه اوس تللی یم جلال آباد کې مې دلته کورونه مورونه اغوستي وي نشته
With the reintegration program, the reconciliation programs, a lot of the fighters are not necessarily ideologically motivated, and a lot of them have just misunderstandings about what Americans are doing here. And so I really support the program to get fighters, especially these local fighters, to put their weapons down, participate in the process, come sit down with us and talk. And normally what we find is our interests are very similar.
OP Mace may be remote, sitting on top of a mountain peak, but the US military has a long tradition of delivering a special dinner to every soldier on Thanksgiving, wherever they are. As US helicopters deliver the food, the Taliban try to spoil the party. They launch a sophisticated and sustained mortar attack, also known as indirect fire.
It's Thanksgiving, and the Taliban are helping us celebrate this great American holiday with 2 rounds of indirect fire, probably like an 82 millimeter mortar round, fired from behind this mountaintop. And if they're doing that, they probably have a spotter
200 to the
somewhere
south,
around here, helping them walk the rounds in.
I think we're getting a little bit of indirect fires. It's not stopping me from eating my macaroni and cheese ham. And that is
17 seconds.
That's real close.
As the rounds get closer, the tension rises, and the soldiers search the ridgeline for any sight of their attackers.
Where are they observing from?
Again, this dumb man. You're ruining my Thanksgiving.
No Fear 2-6, Command 2-6.
Get up, get up, get up! Keep your gear on!
Getting in contact with somebody else, so it could be a possible complex, so don't you make sure whoever's on that side isn't goddamn getting focused over here.
Raise that rig on. You see that smoke way out there?
Yeah.
This dagger will pull it up on its own.
Often they'll use the attack that'll get your attention from this direction. And then conduct another attack while you're looking over here, hit you from a whole separate direction.
And the original fit pass break. Hey, incoming! With the naked tree.
Go directly left.
Go directly left, you're gonna see a vertical rock. We're gonna hit that son of a bitch again. Boom, 2-1. Cleared hot, cleared hot, cleared hot.
When the Afghan soldiers spot something, the Americans are quick to call in their air support.
Oh, that's spur right there, dude. Right there.
They see a puff of smoke, the telltale sign of an enemy mortar
Hey,
position.
ground force commander, imminent threat. Use mine to that shit.
Got it, sir. Got it.
They call in their jets again, confident that they can now kill the people shooting at them.
Yes, right.
207. From that bomb in. There we go, baby. 207. Good strafe, good strafe. 207 now. Again, good strafe, good strafe.
Our party's right.
It's Thanksgiving. Just finished a pretty good indirect fire attack from Taliban mortar systems. So we took a little break. That food smelled good. Looks like we have a little break in contact now. So all of my soldiers have eaten. There's plenty of food left over. The ANA always take care of us. Cook us goat, rice, vegetables. Take care of my men a lot. So we're just trying to return the favor with what we have. It's not much, but it's a kind gesture. So.
Relations between the soldiers seem good, but they don't always see eye to eye.
هغه خو صرف دغه یو مشکل دی مسخه چې څه وخت کې لاندې کوم ځای ته زموږ کسان وظیفې ته لاړ شي او هغې باندې مسخه طالبان جنګ شروع کړه موږ ورسره لاندې مسخه مقاومت هم کولی شو جنګ هم کولی شو څه وخت کې چې هوایي تیارې راشي هغه وخت سره په هماغه ساعت سره زموږ هغو سره ارتباط نه وي چې د طالبانو او د ملکي خلکو په منځ کې باید دوی یو تفاوت راولي داسې نه لکه د تیرو کلونو کې په دې ولایتو کې دا رقم کارونه وشو مسخت چې په د طالبانو سره ملکي خلک ګډ وډ ختم کړل ورسره دغه یو مشکل دی په منځ کې زموږ.
While the fighting continues in the mountains, Colonel Wilson is determined to walk through the bazaar in Ghaziabad and chat with the locals.
I just like to come down here and say hello to everybody and just show our face and, you know, talk to them, interact with them. And a lot of times these people have never seen Americans. Very few times have American forces ever really just got out of their vehicles and walked through and said hello. I hope in another month or so I'll be able to come down here, no weapon, no body armor, just my shalwar kameez, and I come down and say hello to my friends. The situation since we showed up here 6 months ago has radically changed. The enemy still has the ability to move around here fairly freely, but the difference is that the Afghan government, the Afghan security forces have a lot more confidence in their ability to do operations and do their own operations in this area, and the people believe in their government, and that's the biggest shift that we've seen.
In the summer of 2011, President Obama announced that the bulk of US troops would be out of Afghanistan by 2014. But many experts, including General John Allen, the senior American commander in Afghanistan, have expressed doubts that this is possible.
Well, all I can do is tell you what I see and tell the truth, and I won't sugarcoat it. But I don't see 2014 as a, day when everybody's gone, unless the Afghan people tell us they don't want us here after 2014. And I think the key to our withdrawal out of here is a carefully designed system of milestones where the Afghans agree to take over certain areas of support and we don't pull out too soon.
I believe very strongly that you are the future of this country. It is your courage and your sacrifice that will determine whether Afghanistan becomes a free, strong country or not.
There have also been suggestions that the drawdown may not apply to the eastern provinces due to the porous border with Pakistan.
The border is just such a piece of complex terrain that it's almost impossible to work on the border. I mean, there's 100 passes in these mountains, whether they're trafficable by a man or a mule or a truck. And so to cover all of them with the forces that we have, the Afghans have, and even the Pakistani military has, is almost impossible. So you're never going to be able to shut that border down and wall it up and keep people from going back and forth.
The Americans know that in order to depart, they have to leave effective governance and strong leaders. The Taliban know this too, and are doing their best to undermine the strategy.
مخکې د 15 میاشتو نه یا پخوا زما دلته د موجودیت نه دلته قوي حضور و دلته صرف د دولت دا یو بیرغ پاتې و نور تمامه ساحه باندې د هغوی سلطه وه نو هغوی ته اوس د دې نه پرته بله لار نه ده پاتې چې یوازې زما په ترور کې هغوی تصمیم نیولی دی او غواړي چې ما په هره قیمت چې ما ترور کړي د دې لپاره قوي پلانونه لري.
6 months ago, we probably couldn't do a dismounted foot patrol through this bazaar, especially with the smallest forces we have here today. Things have just changed completely in the last couple months, and people are happy to see us now. The Taliban is no longer able to walk through the bazaar unimpeded. The police have a new confidence, and we're building relationships. But it's amazing. I mean, we can come down here now, and it's like we're talking to our neighbors instead of going on a combat patrol through hostile territory.
Sadly, the area was not as safe as Colonel Wilson hoped. Just 4 days after this was filmed, a suicide bomber detonated himself in this very bazaar, killing the district police chief, Mohammed Ismail, and 5 others. The bomber was a Pakistani boy, just 12 years old. As 2011 came to a close and the Afghan winter set in, fierce fighting continued. It's clear that while reconciliation is working in some places, many fighters remain vehemently opposed to talks. There is a growing consensus that any troop withdrawal must be based on the Afghans reaching quantifiable milestones rather than a fixed date in 2014. Installing strong leaders helps to convince the Afghan villagers to engage with the government, but the Taliban know that assassination can undermine this very quickly. OP Mace, and other bases like it, is specifically positioned to stop fighters crossing in and out of Afghanistan with ease. Until Afghanistan can halt the influence of outsiders, it's unlikely to solve the myriad of problems at home.